All right, cool. So this is episode 43 with Bushi Jonker, who's from Stellenbosch personal trainer. And he used to be a personal trainer in real life, but now he's an online personal trainer until COVID-19 decides to fuck off. So welcome, Bushi.
Thank you.
Dude, I'm just going to jump into pro wrestling. So for anyone, for those listening, Bushi, the way I got him on the podcast is I've recently gone onto Facebook and I'm trying to market my podcast, and then he gave me a bunch of suggestions of people that I might know. And he's got this awesome picture, which I'll try to pop up now as his profile picture on Facebook, where he's punching a guy in the face. And I'm like, this just looks fucking awesome. And then I clicked on his photo, and then all this pro wrestling shit came up. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like, this guy's from Stellenbosch, and he went to the same school as me. And I'm like, this is just fascinating, because most people my age grew up with pro wrestling, WWE or WWF, and most people are too embarrassed to somehow admit that they've watched it. And then I watched this guy, and he's fucking doing pro wrestling. So how did you get into pro wrestling?
Well, when I completed school, I took a gap year before I started studying. And I was 19, turning 20, and I found Sean Kuhn's School of Hard Knocks, AWA, and then I started training there for a couple of months. But the logistics just wasn't realistic, and I stopped training with them for a while. I tried to practice what I could on my own during that time, and then when I started studying, when I turned 21, I found a place that started a pro wrestling school, XWE, and then I started training there, and I was with that promotion for about 7 years, and I quit I stopped wrestling about 2 years ago. So I just kind of stuck with it. I found them online on Facebook. I stuck with it for 7 years, and then just got kind of fed up after a while.
What made you quit? What made you fed up with the whole thing?
So first and foremost, it is a business, right? So, you should never let business decisions get a bit too personal. But that's kind of what happened, because the promoter was my friend, right? And I made him make me a promise, which he broke. But at the end of the day, that promise was supposed to protect the locker room and keep the locker room guys happy. And after he broke that promise, I just knew, hey, this sort of leadership is going to be the downfall. It's going to end in a year's time. That was my estimate. And they literally closed their doors last year. It was literally a year after, I said, I'm done. I give it a year to carry on. And I was right. I saw the warning signs, and I just got out before the ship sank.
And can you say what the warning signs were and what the promise was?
Yeah, okay, so there was this one individual, with the wrestling, there's a lot of politics, and there was this one individual that left, and wrestled for another company. And it just kind of made us look bad. And, he was fed up with that other company. So he came back, and we took him in, and, the guys took a vote on it. And I just said, hey, listen, my vote doesn't matter, but you need to hold him down and make sure that everybody else gets an equal opportunity before he gets anything. It's more of a discipline thing. Otherwise, ego is going to take over and stuff, and people are going to be unhappy. And I mean, with the world like wrestling, there's not really many stable guys, so you need to be kind of a loose cannon and not too well up here to do that sort of thing.
Is it a bit like Bret Hart wanting to leave the WWF or WCW?
Yeah, you can put it like that. But like I relate more to CM Punk leaving WWE.
Why did he leave? What was his beef with the whole company, and why was he so unhappy?
So CM Punk was, one of the longest reigning WWE champions for a while, right?
Yeah.
He never really, out of his whole championship reign, I think he only main evented 2 pay-per-views, and that's where the problem comes in. Because his whole title reign, like, it doesn't matter how long it was kind of just whitewashed by, other main events. And with that sort of thing, you're the champion. You're supposed to be representing the company, You're kind of just making that whole championship reign seem like nothing by doing so. Because, like, the stories of other wrestlers is more important than that. I mean, it's showbiz, man. And, like, your belt or your title belt needs to be the most important thing, and everything needs to revolve around that. So some guys just kind of forget that. So, yeah, I mean, he had a lot of neglect, like a medical thing where a staph infection was misdiagnosed by a doctor. So he just kind of got it cut out by another doctor, and, he sued that doctor for, malpractice and stuff like that. But yeah, long story.
But if he did more pay-per-views, would his salary or his income have changed?
No, like the thing is, he's done like pay-per-views. There was just a spot on the pay-per-view that didn't make sense because he was, the champion. So, I mean, and he was like the most over guy at that time, like he was the most popular wrestler at that time, and he wasn't really being given the chance that he was, he deserved.
Yeah, and are you couple of wrestlers that you dig? Do you dig CM Punk? Who else do you like? And I think this question is a bit difficult because I think we're now in the stage of where you got to define era. So maybe the 90s, I digged this guy in the 2000s, and maybe. So who do you dig in which era?
Oh man, tough question because there's so many. Like, you can look at the whole of the Undertaker's career as a whole. Like, it's amazing, Just the fact that he actually did so the WrestleMania that they did now was all like pre-recorded and stuff. There's no crowds and whatever for this year's WrestleMania. He still did a match.
Yeah.
So he's still going.
Jesus.
And I mean, everybody knows who the Undertaker is.
Yeah.
Nobody does not know who the Undertaker is. So like, he is definitely hands down like one of the favorites, but also like his whole approach to the business, because everybody respects him because, he was the locker room leader. He always led guys in the right direction. And, if there was an issue to be addressed, he would take care of it. And Vince McMahon always respected his opinion on things, So like, he had a good, respectable role backstage as well. And that's something that I really respect. And that's kind of something that people forget about. Just like, not just how the guy performs in front of the crowds, but also what role he plays at the back,
Yeah.
Keeping the morale going with the rest of the guys. And then, wow, I don't know if you ever got into Japanese wrestling at any point, at any time.
No, man, I was pretty much WWF, WWE. That's what I've watched.
Yeah, like, I'm a wrestler, so I'm going to go on a tangent away from WWE, because there's so many wrestlers outside of WWE that deserve recognition.
Yeah.
Bruiser Brody, for example, I think he wrestled a few matches when it was WWF at the time. And I mean, he was brilliant. He was a monster heel, and he always brought people in, and his matches were just entertaining, often like violent, but entertaining. And with these matches, it was always like the lines got blurred. You know, you don't know what was real and what wasn't. And if Bruiser Brody decided like he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you, and you're gonna know it in the.
Yo, are you still there?
Is one. Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Dude, we disconnected for about.
Where was I? Minoru Suzuki.
We disconnected for about 30 to 45 seconds there. So you were saying that Bruiser Brody, you didn't know where the lines were between. Is he fucking you up, or is it like it's just how's the rest?
Yeah, like if you're watching wrestling and you don't know a thing, right? There's a point in time where like the lines of reality get blurred. If Bruiser Brody decided that he didn't like you, you would know, but like the other guys wouldn't pick up.
Yeah.
You know, because some people thought it was real anyway. So, like, you know, at that time, before it came out that wrestling is, you know, a scripted show, like, people thought it was real anyway. It was like, you know, actually wrestling is like, oh, fuck, he doesn't like me. What do I do? This guy, like, beats up people for a fucking living.
Yeah.
And he would legitimately beat up some people that he didn't like.
And
so is that
normal? Is that normal where you'll have a match and then you won't pull your punches maybe as good as you should, and you maybe try to hurt the other guy a little bit more to have some sort of like power struggle, and there's fuck all that he can do about it because it's lights, camera, action, and then you have to deal with the beef afterwards?
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna talk about some of my stuff here. There's a guy that I worked very well with, right? So, and we sort of brought out the best in each other, like show-wise, but we would go a bit harder, you know, to make it look real, you know, but like that was on mutual terms, you know, just to make the matches more exciting, more real, and, you know, like, to the audience, it looked like we brought out the worst in each other, but like for us, we know we'll bring out the best in each other for, you know, for the match.
Yeah.
But then you got guys that, you know, their selling ability, that's when you like, you know, have to act and make the punches hurt, look like they hurt and stuff like that. Those guys I would hit for real. Like I would give them a stiff shot and it's like, oh, you're hitting too hard. Like, they would go like, oh, you're hitting too hard. It's like, don't smile when I fucking hit you. Like, that's my, like, direct response. Don't laugh when I'm hitting you. Sell it. If you're not going to sell, I'm going to hit you.
Yeah. It's your shitty acting that's making me hit you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it'll take... But, you know, I was never unsafe. If I did something dangerous, I would do it safely. But, like, you know, I took my liberties where it mattered. The guy's not selling a headlock, right? Then I'm going to start, you know, cranking his neck a little so he can feel it, so he can, like, you know, actually give the response to the audience that I want.
Yeah. I think
but, you know, not unsafe. Like, I just made it a bit unpleasant.
Yeah. And I think it's like this thing of being safe and unsafe. Like, I was a big Bret Hart fan, and I watched this documentary a couple of times, and he's like, his proudest thing about his whole career is that he never injured anyone. Is that something that is legitimately something amazing, that he's never really injured someone? And is it true?
Without a doubt, you know, like, if you can wrestle and you don't injure somebody, people are going to want to work with you because you're safe. Yeah. And if you can work safely and you can make them look good, you know, the match is going to look good, and you can do so much more. You know, when you're doing something like wrestling, like the risk of injury is pretty high, especially if somebody doesn't know what they're doing. And I've been there. This is South Africa, and there's a lot of, like, you know, poorly trained individuals, and they do shit that's dangerous, and they haven't really, like, you know, practiced it properly, and then, you know, you end up getting hurt. I wake up in the mornings, and then, like, you know, I click my spine and my neck in so many ways. My girlfriend looks at me and is like, what the fuck was that? No, that's my spine. Just clicking it back so I can enjoy my day.
It's weird, man, because I just did it with my neck, and I've got to click stuff, fucking man, probably like 30 times a day. And I've got to exercise. The danger for me with this lockdown is that because of all my injuries, if I don't get at least 3 to 5 hours of movement into my body, the amount of pain that just comes into the stiffness within the joints and the muscles. And for me, it's just about movement. And yesterday, I tried to do the military training where you pick up a big ass rock that's maybe like 10 kilos. And then I'm like, how long can I walk with it? And I think I got to like 40 minutes where I was walking up and down these hills and stuff. And my wife looks at me as if I'm crazy. And I'm like, well, if I just don't get movement and stimulation and some sort of blood flow into the muscles, like I've just got so much pain. So I assume that we're a little bit on the same level there.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one that clicks my spine so much.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've actually met somebody who clicks their spine just as much as me.
Like, no, dude, like
I knew it's not normal when I talk it to.
No, man, I can do
like
it
when I talk to it about. Oh, geez.
Everything in my body clicks, and I spent time with a chiropractor. I went to America last year to a chiropractor, and I went for a month worth of therapy and decompression stuff and adjustments and all of that. And it's fascinating to see where we tested how much you can actually do and accomplish in a 4-week period. And we did a lot of intensive training, and then we did a lot of decompression stuff, and it was weird. And I've actually got it on video where, because of all the exercise, I really struggled moving. And because of the decompression, it was like I could barely walk at one point. And then he's like, relax for an hour. He did an adjustment, and suddenly I could walk. And there is something legitimate with adjustments, and if you do it correctly.
Oh, yeah, no, like, I mean, with chiropractors, you just got to be careful. There's guys that do things legitly, like they do x-rays and stuff like that, and they check out the exact problem, and then they combine it with a bunch of other, sciences, not just chiropractic, like what you call it, chiropractic by itself. It's not just like, oh, it's this, take an educated guess and then crack something. There's people that actually do, the research and combine it with other stuff. There's there's a chiropractor and a physiotherapist all in one. So I mean, that gives more credibility to it. It's not just how being a chiropractor started in the early days. It was considered pseudoscience, but no, there's more precautions now, and the guys that follow those precautions are more effective.
Yeah, and I think I think Joe Rogan does a big disservice to chiropractors, because he went to one chiropractor and he fucking hammers on this point that chiropractors are shit and they all bullshit and the way that it started. And it's like, fuck you, dude. If you listen to one podcast and that one podcast is shit, you can't say all podcasts are shit. Like, go try out a few. It's like nutrition. Fuck. Different things for different people, and there's a lot of bullshit in all industries and professions.
Oh yeah, no. Like even with doctors, there's doctors that shouldn't be practicing because like they're either misinformed or they just work with old information. But with Joe Rogan, he's got a point, because most of the, if you look at the stats, most chiropractors don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Once again, it's the individual's experience with it. And, if they find somebody that's, competent, that makes the difference. Like, I've got a physiotherapist that I would religiously go to if I have a problem, because she's just so competent.
Do you want to say which one? We give her a bit of marketing.
Her name's Samari. She's in Stellenbosch in Dorp Street. And I mean, she's just excellent. Like, she doesn't do the dry needling thing, and she doesn't, she believes that it's a quick fix and it doesn't sort out the issue long term.
Yeah.
So she does the long-term treatment sort of thing, gives you the exercises, does the massages and stuff. And, like I was developing a problem with my iliopsoas, so it was giving me a very uncomfortable pain in my hip.
Hmm.
And she sorted it out. She just told me, like, hey, go to a doctor, make sure it's not a hernia. And I did. And, I mean, fucking scariest experience of my life when the doctor, like literally takes the two fingers and shoves it up your nutsack to feel if there's anything hanging that shouldn't be hanging there. And I was like, oh shit. I was not expecting that. And, went back because it was like, yeah, no hernia. Like, I just didn't like where he put his fingers. It's like, yeah, because I'm not allowed to do that. So you had to go to somebody who was. We took it from there.
Dude, is that the lady that's down the road from Hudson's?
She is down the. Yeah, she's on Dorp Street. It's basically down the road from Hudson's. Yeah, it's closer to. It's like what? It's close to Stelcor.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, man. I find this chiropractic very interesting,
Like,
just because I think people like us that grew up in Stellenbosch, especially, there's some sort of indoctrination here. There's a lot of indoctrinations here, but the one that I was taught from a young age is that chiropractors are bullshit, and I agree with you. I think a lot of them are ill-equipped, or they are bullshit artists, but it's also, I think they are legitimate ones. And I think it's the same for physiotherapy. Like, fuck, this is what my the chiropractor said. I said to him, like, I've been going to physiotherapists for 15 years. He's like, and have they solved your problem? I'm like, no. I still have exactly the same problems that I've been dealing with for 10, 15 years. And I've done all the stretches and the fucking exercises and the Pilates and the fucking yoga, and none of them worked. And I don't know, man. I maybe we can talk about that on a different day. But it's an interesting thing. I've just come to accept that if you break a lot of bones and if you do a lot of damage to your body, you're gonna have permanent damage and you're gonna have pain and stiffness, and that's just unfortunately that's part of breaking shit.
Yeah, no, it is. It's also part of getting old. I mean, I find myself warming up more. Like, there's the time that I never used to warm up. I warm up more now before my actual workout. In fact, my warm-ups are more intense than my workouts. Just to make sure I can move and not hurt myself.
Dude, at what point with wrestling did you get into boxing and jiu-jitsu and the variety of what other types of martial arts do you do?
So, like, I always love martial arts, and I think that started with, playing Tekken 2 on PS1. So, like, I've always had a love for martial arts, watching Bruce Lee movies and stuff like that. And I got into boxing at a fairly young age as well. So, like, I started boxing when I was 16. There was a guy that was coaching boxing at the Old Perfect Health when it was still there. In the Eckstad Mall, and it was right there next to the Stones.
Yeah.
And like, I trained with him for a good 2 years, if not more. And the guy was a hairdresser, actually, but he was the Western Province champ, and he trained a few pros and stuff like that. And the one pro I trained regularly with was Johnny Giglin, a small little Afrikaans black man. And he was a good guy, but unfortunately, you couldn't take the street out the person, and he had his flaws. May he rest in peace. But I learned a lot from him. I learned how to move. So, like, I started boxing when I was 16, and I trained fairly regularly. And I did judo for a short while in high school. A friend convinced me to do it, and I really enjoyed it. And I did like a little bit of Aikido, and Aikido is like definitely bullshit. Like, I was doing Aikido for, I think, maybe 3 weeks, where it's like, nah, this is complete bullshit. And then as soon as I got to matric, there was this guy that started an MMA gym, but like, I mean, he's a bit of a shady character. So I dabbled in the training there for a little bit. I dabbled in a little bit of Muay Thai. And then when that closed down, like, after high school, like, I started coaching boxing in my gap year. And during that time, I started getting more involved in the wrestling training. So I took my wrestling training a bit more seriously then, because I just kind of got into it. It's like, oh, hey, I can actually do this.
Sorry, man, I got cut out there again
I
for
think
30 seconds.
again.
So you said that you got into wrestling a little bit more serious after your gap year and training a little bit?
Yeah, no, then that's when I started wrestling. So when I was 21, I did my first wrestling show. So I took my wrestling more seriously then. When I graduated in 2014, I started boxing coaching. So I started taking my boxing training like a little bit more seriously then, and I trained with a few guys. And yeah, I've been boxing coaching ever since. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I started jiu-jitsu. We needed a new boxing coach to come in because one of us is not enough.
Yeah.
And the previous head instructor left, right? The previous head coach left. And we got this new guy in, John William. He's now the jiu-jitsu coach there at the gym. And I've been doing jiu-jitsu ever since. And I've always wanted to do jiu-jitsu. I've always had a love for grappling. And with the pro wrestling, I'm more into the origins of pro wrestling as well, because it started from catch wrestling, which is quite interesting. And jiu-jitsu and catch wrestling are very similar in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. I've just kind of been in love with those combat sports and combat sport entertainment sort of thing.
And how tall are you? Because when I looked at some of the pictures, you look quite tall, and then on your profile picture, you look like quite a short guy.
I am actually kind of short. I think I am. But I'm like, I'm not tall. Like, we just took my measurement the other day. Like, jeez. Like, I'm not even 6 foot. I'm not even, like, I'm
okay.
Maybe like.
But you look you look super stocky and strong, man. Like, how much do you weigh?
I weigh 104 at the moment.
Jesus. So you're packing a lot, man, because you just look so solid. It looks like, where does all that muscle come from? Is that just from years of training and working out and just fucking slowly becoming bigger? And to get a physique, were you that strong? Do you need to take a lot of supplements and stuff, or is that just like fucking living healthy?
So I've been training from quite a long time. I've been lifting weights since 18. And when I turned 20, like, I did more serious weightlifting because I was getting into the wrestling thing.
Yeah.
And I picked up quite a lot of strength and stuff like that. But when it comes to supplementation, I mean, I used to take all the supplements because my boss deals in supplements, so we could get all the raw supplements, skip the middleman, get things for like really cheap. You could get whatever you want. Didn't take any of the steroids though. I am natural.
Yeah.
So.
Have you ever tempted?
But yeah, man, like, it just, yes and no. Yes and no. Like, like, how badly do you want it? And at the same time, what's the long-term repercussions of it? So gladly skipped it because it has its health benefits when your body doesn't, produce testosterone. So, I mean, if you look at Joe Rogan, he's doing the TRT thing and he's looking relatively healthy. Most of the male health problems come after the body stops developing testosterone.
Yeah.
So doing testosterone replacement therapy is a good thing. It's got its place. But if you're, 21 years old and you're, juicing, drinking your steroids through a fucking juice box with a straw, and because you're really committed for getting into Craven Week for, high school rugby, you're going to screw up your body long term.
Yeah, man, and it's
and
weird because I just read an article on BBC which talks about steroid usage in under 16, under 17 South African schools, specifically for rugby. And it's crazy to see. I understand why people are doing it, kids are doing it, because they say that if you get to the Craven Week and you're seen and you're visible at Craven Week, you probably set up for the rest of your life or your whole career. But it's like, even when I was you were 2009 a matric at Paul Roos, I was 2003 matric in Paul Roos. And even then we had guys on growth hormones and on steroids and stuff. And it was very hush-hush. And I think because I was quite naive, and I'm still a bit of a naive guy, I always feel like I don't care what people are doing, but if you have to keep it a secret from the world, then it's probably not good, And I said the other day to someone about social media, it's like, if you want to show your tits and ass on social media, fair game, but then you should be comfortable doing that in front of your mom and dad. And if you're not comfortable to do it in front of your mom and dad, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Because I say puss and fuck and this and that, but I can do that in front of my mom and my dad. I blasphemize, and I do that in front of my mom and dad. So anything I do, I'm comfortable with. And so for me, the whole steroid thing, it's like, I don't actually care if people do it or don't do it, but for me, it's about transparency and honesty, and especially like friends. Like if you've got friends and you're fucking hanging out all the time, but you don't know about their girlfriend, you'll be like, dude, why the fuck don't you want to tell me about your girlfriend? So it's a little bit about like, I'm asking you, how are you getting these nice fucking muscles? And you don't want to tell me, but it's actually, there's a lot of dodgy shit going into my body. I don't know what your take on that.
Yeah, no, like the whole fitness industry and sport is polluted with this stuff. I mean, most chicks that you see with six-pack abs are using something. The guy that's performing well in his sport is using something. I mean, most people in athletics are using something. Like it's everywhere. Lance Armstrong, he was a scapegoat. He's been using for, years. And I mean, when he finally got caught, I mean, there was this whole big deal with him using steroids. Like, motherfucker, please, the guy had cancer. Like, he actually achieved a lot. And if you tested everybody, it's the people in the last three who are probably natural. So go like at the end of the fucking spectrum, take the absolute loser, because he's obviously not losing, and then you award him with the gold. That's my take on it. But like, even like fitness trainers, like there's a lot of guys, and I mean, if you check out most gyms, the unnaturally big guy there, he's obviously using. Most fitness models that you see in magazines are using. It's there. It's not just Photoshop. Like Photoshop, I mean, it's there. But like if you see them in real life with the unedited photo, you'll see like, there's still something fucking unnatural about it.
Yeah.
And usually you can see it in the jawline and in the shoulder caps and stuff like that.
And the thing is,
man, like it's polluted, and that's what you're playing with.
Yeah, and on your point of this TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, like I don't want to do it, but it's because of my brain damage and the various concussions that I've had, one of the side effects is hormone imbalances, and I've gone for a few tests, and I've got extremely low testosterone, and I am not on TRT, and it is quite difficult to live a certain lifestyle if you don't have testosterone in your body. It is just, I would be fascinated to see what change in my body and in my mood and in my, just generally in my life there will be if I am on TRT. So I try to live a lifestyle where I sleep right and I eat right and I do everything right. But there are certain glands that are quite fucked up, and there are certain stresses in your life that influences all of those things. So, even if I try without artificially inserting testosterone into my body, like my body can't generate it. And it is a little bit irritating. But it's like Ken Shamrock. He's always been one of those guys that said, we fuck up our body so badly that we do need a little bit of extra testosterone to go through the healing process. Do you agree with that?
Oh yes. Like I mean, Ken Shamrock doing MMA and pro wrestling, so he knows very well, like on that spectrum, on how both fuck up your body. And he does go more towards wrestling fucking up your body even more. And I mean, like, look at the bumps that the guys take. You know, I mean, if a 300-pound man takes a bump or jumps from the top rope, that's not natural. And I mean, like, he's basically willing to put himself through a car crash. And I
Yeah.
mean, doing that or taking that amount of force every time without breaking something, do you still think that the body's not getting damaged? Do you think the body doesn't need a kick to, fix itself? Like, if it brings longevity to your sport, like that's fair. I mean, that's a fair thing to say, because I mean that's somebody's career. But like abusing it and stuff like that, that's another end of the spectrum. There's two sides of the coin here, because like all athletes are taking it and they're prolonging their athletic careers. And then you've got like, some fuckwit who's in the gym taking all the steroids. He's probably snorting cocaine and going clubbing because, he's loving the attention that he's getting from all his muscles at the club. So he's taking cocaine so he can be a bit of a party animal and, get everybody to like him as well. But then, next thing you know, fucking something snaps, and then, the roid rage with the coke rage all comes together, and there's people dropping on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Like that's where you need, there's still that end of the spectrum as well. It's not just like athletes or whoever. It's that, like, the regular fuckwit who doesn't know what he's doing and he doesn't know the repercussions of what he's taking and how it alters his brain chemistry.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a video clip with Sam Harris being tuned by Ben Affleck on the internet on the Someone Meyer show, and Sam Harris was saying about Muslim or Islam being a bit of a bad idea, and they were having this discussion on this panel about being Muslim and some of the concepts of it. And Ben Affleck, being this extreme liberal, took real offense, and he really wanted to have an argument. And then a couple of weeks or a month later, they interviewed Sam Harris on another podcast, and they asked him, so why do you think Ben Affleck took so much offense? He's like, well, I think he was misinformed, one, and two, I think he was taking a lot of steroids to become Batman for the new movie, and he had a bit of a steroid rage. And I laughed so bad.
how can you not be the Batman and not take steroids? Like, I mean,
do you think all the
like,
Avengers and all the superheroes are taking roids?
Possibly, like, and they're making the studios pay for it. Possibly, of course.
Because it's like, if you look at The Rock, for example,
like,
what? Go for it, go.
Yeah, sorry. No, you cut off.
So I said, for example, with The Rock, this guy's getting $200 to $300 million a year looking like a badass. I think that's a good investment, and that justifies steroid usage. But if you're not getting paid that much money, then what's the fucking point? Or I don't know, at which point, $1 million, fair enough. But I think if you're not creating a lot of money that will somehow at the end of your steroid usage help you to also look after yourself, then what's the point? If it's vanity, then fuck, come on, man.
I mean, like, look at Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. They started the trend with Hollywood and steroids. I mean, look at them. 80s action heroes, fucking shredded, jacked as shit. And look at Sylvester Stallone. He's better looking than me in his old age.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been going at it still. Like, fuck, dude, when's Expendables 4 coming out?
Yeah.
Guy's still, like, ready to go. And the thing is, like, Sylvester Stallone still got his fucking neck broken in the first Expendables movie by Steve Austin.
What?
Sylvester, yeah, go look it up. Sylvester Stallone broke his fucking neck in the first Expendables movie. And the guy's still going like nothing fucking happened. And like, that's weird. Like, that guy is taking testosterone and growth hormone without a doubt, And look at him, he's still going. Like, that's dude's fucking respectable, man. I can't trash talk him. He hasn't done anything bad. But like when the whole steroid scandal came out with him, it's like, man, like people just are misinformed about it, I suppose. But yeah, man, like still fucking going in his old age. Like broken neck, not a problem.
Yeah, dude. I think some of these actors, because some of the training that I go through, it's tough. And then I'm like, if I had to eat differently because I had to maybe shred some fat and I needed to look more ripped, I have a lot of respect for some of these actors with, even if they take steroids, it's like the amount of training they're putting in, the amount of dedication, and just eating right, it's harder for some people than other people. And I have a lot of respect for what they actually accomplish just to look the way they look.
Oh yeah, dude. Like it's difficult. I mean, following a good nutrition plan where you're not getting the foods that you really want. Everybody wants the sugary and salty foods. As humans, we are programmed to like go for sweet, salty foods because that tells our body that those foods are nutrient dense. We need that to survive.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, with how we have food distributed in society today, that's not really the case. You can get whatever you fucking want that's nutritious and calorie dense enough, and whole foods, which is got a lot of nutrients. And I mean, nobody wants to eat the plain chicken breast, rice, and broccoli. But it's what needs to be done. It's what works. And I mean, you're taking so low calories, and you're so, like, let's say you have to like adjust your diet to 1,500 calories. That's a little food. If you
Yo, I think we're back, man. You were saying 1,500 calories is little food.
Yeah, especially if you've been eating double the amount. So like that's gonna drive a person crazy because it's convenience. Like we've evolved because we could sit down and observe the world and we could exploit everything that was put in front of us, and then we get used to that convenience. As soon as you take it away, especially with food, people just start losing their shit, and people don't want to hear the truth. They want to take the fat burning supplement because it's an easy thing to do. Just take a pill and it will solve your problem. But
yeah,
you can't hack the body's metabolism to just burn fat like that. You just have to fucking eat right. It's calories in versus calories out, and that's it. That is it. Like there's no magic formula. There's no magic pill. It's actually just being disciplined and doing the grunt work.
And it's probably about doing it incrementally, because I think I don't know about you, but I definitely got raised on a diet that is sacrilege. Like I can't believe that that's what my parents were giving me. It's like, if you're hungry, go eat fucking bread. If you're hungry, go eat some bread. If you're hungry, eat some bread. Eat an apple. Eat a fucking banana. Just sugar, 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 sugar. Like Coke float, have Coca-Cola and ice cream. And, as an adult, I had to rewire my brain and my diet completely. And in the beginning, it was very difficult to be on a different diet and my body just, it's literally the physical aspect of getting a lot of sugar, artificial sugar, and then changing to not getting a lot of artificial sugar. It's fucking interesting to see what the body does. The body does not like that.
Yeah, dude, it's a big adjustment. Like, I'm the skinniest one out of my family.
Really?
I'm just going to put that out there. So you should know by now what kind of food comes out of my family's household. I'm the skinniest one from my family. And I mean, it's like, I'm still bad with food. I'm still a bit, chubby. Like I'm bad with food. I'm going to just put that out there. But like, I don't go off, these tangents. Like I can follow a ketosis-based diet for about 6 weeks, and I can do that. My body responds well to it. And then, I can eat well, but then there are days that I binge, and I do know I take in a bit too many calories, but generally in the week I eat well, a bit too much calories, but
Yeah, man, we're back on. You said that you do your binges, and some days you have too many calories. Very much like what I do.
Yeah, like everyone. But like generally, I eat quite a bit. I'm a hungry individual. Like I came out
Mm.
of a household where there's always a lot of food, so I'm always fucking hungry. But like, even though that I eat a lot of calories, I don't eat, all the chips, all the sweets and stuff like that. Most of my calories come from healthy sources. Like I usually eat brown rice and meat. I eat organ meat. I eat liver. I eat good, wholesome food.
Mm.
But I just tend to eat a bit too much.
And I think fair enough, dude. It's like
Like I don't have any problems. Like if I get sick, I recover.
yeah, and I think like we all got to decide what our vices are because like with this COVID-19 again, it's like I don't drink, I don't drug. I stopped smoking cigarettes about 6 years ago after 12 years of smoking. And the only naughty thing I really do is I indulge in a little bit of chocolates or a hamburger or a pizza or some gluten. And it's like, if I can just manage that, it's like drinking. I think if you do it in a balanced way, that's good. And I think also, I think it depends on your fitness. I think, fuck, you can be a bit of a biggish, chubbish person, but you can still be fit. It's just there's a little bit of behind all the muscle. It's like Andy Ruiz, the boxer. I don't know if you know him, but he fucking won the world championship being a bit of a chubby
Yeah,
guy. There's still a
yeah.
fuckload
No,
of
I
muscle
definitely do.
and health and fitness behind all of those. It's like Daniel Cormier. It's like one of the ultimate fighters in the world. There's just a little bit of extra on him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. But that can also be a genetic trait to an extent. I mean, there's so much studies coming out now about gut microbiome and people's genetics and stuff, and like how that influences one's physical physique. But one
Mm,
one thing is for sure that physical athletes, their gut bacteria is very good, and that's why they can perform so well. But I think it's
mm,
because they eat proper foods and stuff like that. But people misinterpret that, and then you got this like obese people that are saying, you're fat shaming. I claim body positivity. Is like, no, you're just a greedy fuck who doesn't know how to control their habits.
mm,
You got that end of the spectrum as well. So it's like people misinterpret, the healthy at, you can be a bit overweight and be healthy and be athletic. Like people misinterpret that, and I mean that becomes a problem on its own, I guess.
yeah, I think that's definitely. I think there's validity. I think finding the balance and interpreting data correctly. But I spoke on I did a small MMA podcast last week, and we were using the example of Tyson Fury as a fantastic example of someone that's he's not Anthony Joshua, and it's two completely different humans. Both are world champions, but they look completely different. And I don't know if Tyson Fury, even if he is a bit of a naughty guy, and even if he got his shit right and he was doing exactly the same as Anthony Joshua, he probably wouldn't look like Anthony Joshua. There is just some genetics in you that you can't. And Cain Velasquez is for me a fantastic example of, he's just not ripped, and he'll never look like Alistair Overeem. He'll never look like
Yeah,
Francis
no,
Ngannou.
without a doubt, like it. But now with something with boxing and MMA and stuff like that, it's still skill-based sports. Being
Mm,
physical does play a huge part. I mean, if somebody is like as on a technical level as good as you, being physically superior will bring your chances higher of winning.
yeah.
But I mean, let's take bodybuilding for instance. If you don't have the genetics for it, don't fucking get into bodybuilding. Like
Yeah.
if you're not willing to abuse the steroids, and if you don't have the genetics for it, because your body composition needs to be good, like the, your ability to build muscle, like, and the proportions that your muscles are in on your body, that plays a big role. And then your body's ability to bounce back from the steroid abuse. I mean,
Mm,
like, if you don't have the genetics for bodybuilding, you do not get into bodybuilding.
mm, mm.
But like skill-based sports. I mean, if you're willing to outwork the other guy physically and, on a technical level, your chances of winning is always higher. So that's why you can get guys like Tyson Fury and Andy Ruiz that, don't look like the physical specimens like everyone else, but, they dominate because they can still perform athletically, but they're technically superior to the fighters.
That's for me one of the things of cycling, like the Tour de France and stuff. And I always say, like, I don't know how amazing it is to be winning the Tour de France, because basically it's just about doing it for a long time. If you take a bicycle up the mountain and you want to get down as quickly as possible, there's a lot of skill involved in that. But for me, long distance on the road, it's even like running the comrades. It's like, fuck it, it's just running for a long way. Like, obviously being a top athlete, that is a different thing. But anyway, that's I'm not 100% serious, but there's some stuff, there's some sports, like you say, you really need a certain skill with it. And I think that's why I like fighting so much. It's because if you play cricket, if you play rugby, you're not 100% involved in the whole match. And, the basics that you need is a lot less than the basics of, let's say, a mixed martial arts fight. Because there's so many fundamentals, I think, and there's so many different things that can mess you up. And then also, like Rogan always says, if you make a mistake, the repercussions are so severe. And that's what I like about boxing or mixed martial arts or even jiu-jitsu. If you look at that, if you do the wrong move, if you lean the wrong way, just with a few degrees or a few kilograms, then you may be putting yourself in a position to be submitted.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I don't like making the comparisons between sports like that, because every sport is different. Everything requires a certain amount of skill. I mean, you can have a guy who's good at jiu-jitsu and he's got no ball skills. And that's where rugby, you've got ball skills, hand-eye coordination. It's a different type of hand-eye coordination.
Yeah,
you're training for a completely different purpose. And I mean, with that sense, you can't be binary with your forms of training, because the goal is specific for every individual. We could say some things are stupid because you do them, like like you can make those comparisons.
Yeah. I like your outlook on that.
That's a different. I mean, like, it's this whole debate on what training is better. Like, no, it doesn't matter what training is better. Like, it depends on the individual specific goals. If the person wants to get in more into bodybuilding, like, sure, let them get into it, but make sure that it's safe. It's about longevity. And if it's about doing martial arts training, like if they're going to do it if they're going to approach it from a hobbyist point of view, once again, it's about longevity. But if they want to be a serious athlete, then the time's ticking. You've only got so much time. So it depends on the person's goal. And like, if you look at the training in that sense, then you'll it just makes more sense. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. Listen,
you can't be binary and say like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I was just going to say now, like, also with this MMA and pro wrestling debate, like, you can't be binary about your beliefs. Like, no, real men watch MMA. They don't watch wrestling because that's for sissies. And it's like, they're two different things. Wrestling on its own, it's sports entertainment. It's a category on its own. Whereas MMA, it's a competitive sport. You can't combine the two. It's like, oh, wrestling's fake. Why are you watching that? It's like, okay, cool. You're gonna tell me that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly aren't really stepbrothers as well? You're not seeing it for what it is.
Yeah. No, definitely, man. And I think there's a lot of different ways. And it's the same for me with surfing and bodyboarding. It's like, it's two different sports, and people want to, I don't know, people are just fucking weird, man. People like to disagree.
Yeah.
They like to see
They like having their opinions, and they like being right. They just want their opinion to be right. That's all. And like, I mean, it doesn't really fucking matter. As
Yeah,
long as
man.
you're doing something that makes you happy, that's all that fucking matters. If you're not enjoying it, why the fuck are you doing it? Then then you can have your opinion about it sucking. You
Exactly,
know,
man. Exactly. But I
and you've
think we're
got a
gonna
right to
wrap
be
it up.
negative about it. But like,
Finish on that,
gonna
and then
wrap it
we're
up
gonna.
already, has it?
It's been an hour, man.
Jeez, we haven't even tackled everything that we were supposed to talk about.
Yeah, man. There's so many things that I would love to ask you, and it's like fuck to package everything into a 60-minute conversation. It's super difficult, but I've changed my style. I used to have 2 hour to maybe 3 hour podcasts, but there's not a market for that in South Africa, and you've got to package it into smaller 60-minute things, and especially with the internet these days. It's not that good. There are a lot of problems, and it's quite tricky to go into a lot of depth. But I would love to ask you many, many more questions. So if you're keen to do another one, I would love to have another chat, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm down. I'm definitely down.
I just want to, just a quick shout out. If you want to follow Bushi, I will be posting his details in the description boxes of wherever it's posted, if it's on Spotify, iTunes, or if it's on YouTube or Facebook. People can follow him, can check him out, and then obviously drop him a direct message. Maybe you can hook him up on Zoom for a private fitness session.
I'm down. I can teach you some boxing as well.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Listen, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I would love to ask you many, many more questions, especially on the pro wrestling side, man. I find it so fascinating, and well done for pursuing a career, especially coming out of a little conservative town like Stellenbosch.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, dude.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, man.